Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Innovation Root Studio. I'm your host, Noopur, and I'm back with another interesting interview. And today we have Rahul Dewan with us. Hi, Rahul. Welcome to the studio.
Hello, Nupur. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for taking out time for this discussion, Rahul. I have met you a couple of times and have seen you at a couple of events earlier. Why don't you introduce a little bit about yourself to our audiences?
Sure. I am the founder and managing director of Srijan Technologies. We are a software services company, a little bit niche, if you like, more in the area of content management systems. And over the last few years, that's been our strength, content management systems with an open source product called Drupal. And over the last few years have diversified into data engineering, a lot of machine learning, and API-led digital transformation, which also includes hybrid cloud strategies and implementation. I've been running the business for almost about 19 years now. We're about 450, 500 people spread across the country and in a few people in 5 or 6 countries globally.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And I'm sure it's been a wonderful 19 years of journey. And I'm looking forward to learn from you what kind of experiences you've had. So, Rahul, to begin with, please tell us about your inspiration behind founding Srijan Technologies.
Okay, so honestly, I wanted to. I mean, as a young kid, while probably even at school and then at college, I always had this notion that once I grow up, I'm going to be in politics and will actually serve what I now call the civilizational nation, if you like. And one notion that I've always had in my mind was that one has to be financially independent to never become corrupt. And so, I mean, somewhere at the back of my mind, I guess I had this. I belong to a family business, and while I was doing my job in an American company, then in a Danish company, my father was constantly putting pressure on me to join him and his family business and our family business. I did leave my job, did a deal with him that I'll work 50% of the time and 50% I will do my own thing, do software projects, because that's what you trained me for. I mean, honestly, he sent me to a computer engineering college. I had no idea what I wanted to do in life, barring my notion of serving, if you like, serving the nation or the civilizational nation. And I guess after my job, when I quit and I started doing 50% time, before I knew it, my projects grew, and I basically had to go back to him and tell him that, look, I can't do this. I am not going to be able to work with you in your business, or at least give me a few years to try doing what I'm doing, and had a deal with him, and he said okay. But like a bad son, I never went back to his business. Only now I'm trying to help him and make more systems in the business and sort of get the business ready for transition. But really, that's how I sort of started. That's the story behind forming Srijan. And then as you form, then you do everything yourself, basically, everything from writing code to being the business analyst on a project to the project manager, all of this yourself. And slowly I started getting people, and business grew in the first few years fairly well. Then you hit a roadblock, and I can talk about it if you still like later.
Yeah, definitely. Let's talk about the kind of roadblocks also you have faced later in this discussion, Rahul. Rahul, a couple of things a business is always concerned about: growth, people, profit. So, what is the biggest challenge you constantly face? Is it growth, people, profit, or something else?
So in 2010, 11, so this is a good hook into the challenges that I was speaking about. Maybe that's a good point to start off. So, like I was saying, the first few years we grew fairly well. I mean, grew to a decent size, like all small companies, decent size, manage 15, 20 people. That's all I mean, right? Had two small offices, and, on different floors. And, eventually what happened is that I was stuck in the 3-4 crores revenue. This is way back in 2000, I guess 7, 8, 2007 and 8, right up to 2010, 11. I was pretty much stuck in that, NASSCOM had this project which they used to call, or initiative which they used to call, the crossing the 10 crore chasm. Okay, and that was very popular back then. I don't know if they still have it or no. And they actually organized a conference, or one theme running in the conference was at least this. And I mean, I didn't get to 10 crores, and it seems NASSCOM figured that most IT services businesses coming out of India were getting stuck at that um, sort of revenue mark. I was stuck even below the 5 crore mark and sort of just hitting 4.5, 5 crores coming back. So for 3-4 years, I was pretty much stuck there. It was very frustrating, very, demoralizing, depressing, if you like, and very tough years, right? And we didn't know what to do. Basically, what was happening was that sizes were growing, and as project sizes were growing, the tail of the project sort of never ended. It just went on and on and on, and customers wouldn't pay for that on and on. Our developers were demoralized. My team leads were demoralized also. I was demoralized as well. And generally, it was a drag on the business because our profits were going down because of this. And so I was really struggling to figure out what do I do until I ran into this NASSCOM conference, and God bless NASSCOM. And there was this, as part of this crossing the 10 crore challenge, there was a panel session going on. I think this was Bangalore, if I'm not wrong. And this young man, probably just a few years elder to me that time, was sitting on the panel, and actually he shared how the NASSCOM assistants helped him rethink his business model. And he shared that NASSCOM told him, and he was sharing, that Infosys can predict their revenues 2 years ahead, right? And so there is predictability in the business. And he said that that was the trigger to transforming my business. And honestly, I didn't go through the NASSCOM program, but just those words really started a change in me in thinking, how do I do contracts? How do I bring revenue predictability? And then, as life has it, nature and life uh, has a way of, there's an unseen hand of grace, if you like, which keeps operating. And as one thing led to the other, I ran into an Agile conference. I do not recall where, Mumbai, maybe Delhi, don't recall. And I met some coaches and shared this same problem with them. And they basically said that never get into fixed cost projects. Actually said that break the project down into discovery, the whole development, and a handover phase. And just these two things together, right? Long-term contracts and breaking a project down. This, along with all of the struggle I was going through with all these fixed cost projects, uh, helped me take a very, very strong decision about moving away from fixed cost projects. So I started refusing projects, and there were some people who were sort of partners, if you like, and they said, you're going to kill the business. And of course, I was determined that either I will make this transition, even if the business is killed, I don't care. I mean, of course I cared, but it was so tough not doing, I wasn't willing to go on like how it was basically, right? So I had to do some change. And so I did start refusing fixed cost projects. It was very, very tough period. Uh, Fortunately, like I said, the unseen hand of life, of nature, uh, that was sort of constantly operating. I got an opportunity with a large consulting firm and a startup based out of UK, and they both sort of were turning into very agile contracts, right? They were long term, so I could start predicting revenue. So that offered a financial cushion for me to take these tough decisions. and I did. Refused many large projects. People thought I was crazy, and but that did turn the whole thing around. By 2011 was the first time we ran an unprofitable business. We were in a loss in 1 year. Out of our 19 years, only 1 year. I had to take a loan from HDFC Bank to actually pay off salaries and stuff. Of course, I wasn't touching some reserves that I had built. It was very small at that time. And I guess all of this then started the turnaround journey for Srijan. And like I said, it's been now we are of course 450, 500 people approximately, doing very well, very healthy revenues, healthy reserves. Seen through COVID, many ups and downs and all of that. So very good business. So just to complete the thought around your question, what is the most important or most difficult thing that I try and go after is actually finding revenue predictability in our customers. So finding long-term customers. It doesn't matter if they give us small projects, but we must be able to predict revenue with them over the course of 1 year, 2 years, and more. That's the most difficult thing that we have to go through.
Yeah, you explained very nicely. Anybody could relate to who are running their own businesses, and it's quite a tiresome job to be in a position where you are. As you have said, there are challenging times when you have to take loan from the bank to pay the salaries. So it becomes quite tiresome and very exhausting at one point. In that situation, Rahul, how do you keep a balance between work pressure and emotional well-being?
So the simple answer is yoga and dhyan, or yoga, or, yeah, meditation. And 2008, I've been on the sort of spiritual path since I was boy, 17, 18 years old, meditating, but never firm, never sort of had continuity. So in December 2008, I actually signed up for a training program called Inner Engineering by Sadhguru Jaggi Vasudev. And I keep writing about this. I used to be tormented by my mind, okay? Constant chattering, char, constant thoughts and anxieties, fears. And as a business head, going through all of this is also very tough. So 2008 December, I signed up for the program. And I remember, somebody asked a question. I thought the question was asked more for me and were answered more for me. Sadhguru, so basically this person said, oh, but I can never sit down. I signed up for many courses, but I can never sit down and meditate. And I remember Sadhguru telling him, you know, uh, it's a long story, but I'll keep it short. He said, let the mind do its job, you do your job. So you start sitting down. So I never looked back, right? December 2008 to now, I meditate every single day. In a year, I maybe miss I'm guessing 20, 30 days. Okay, I don't know if more than that. Yeah, maybe 10%. So in a month, yeah, I would miss 1 or 2 sessions sometimes, 1 or 2 days that I would not meditate. I've not been regular with, not at all, been doing asanas except spurts in the middle. That also I've sort of started doing recently. So I think there is no better way, honestly, for all business leaders, or anyone, especially during COVID times. There were a lot of challenges with mental health, sort of issues that people were talking about, loneliness, sitting at home, suddenly locked up, especially during the severe 3-month lockdown, COVID phase one, then phase two. So phase one, I actually started doing taking guided meditation programs for all Srijanites, and of course not all of them would show up, but in any good day 40-50 people would show up, and I would do 9 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. So I would do a guided session for everybody, and I thought we saw through those very tough 3-4 months, 7 days a week I would show up. And not only for myself, it's a growing experience of which brings growth, but also for all the Srijanites. And they actually opened it up for friends and family. So a lot of friends, family, mothers, sisters, brothers of our people started showing up. And I guess, with those rigor of 3-4 months, they became better. And that's the same thing I have. for anybody who's listening, yoga, meditation, dhyan is the only real way to bring um, calmness or balance, a sense of balance and all. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Rahul. You mentioned about inner engineering. There's an amazing book also on it, which I always keep with me, and I am also thinking about this course for a long time, but the COVID is not allowing me to go for it for last 2 years. But yes, I guess I think meditation is one of the ways which keeps you calm. So we have first spoken about keeping the balance. Now let's come to the risk that you have taken, Rahul. Is there any larger than normal kind of a risk you have taken, and how did you manage to make a way out of it for your company?
Yeah, already spoke about it, right? The transition from fixed cost projects in 2010-11 to actually going over and start to refuse at the risk of killing the company. That was a very, very huge transition. And honestly, not only me, I mean, of course, I was anxious, but also the other people in the company were anxious, right? But there were phases of no projects and stuff like that. And I was basically talking to everybody, and a few of them, people from that time, are still here in Srijan. So they've seen this transition. And I guess the job of a leader is not only to keep your own nerves calm, but also keep talking to all the people and also show everybody that here is a transition we are making. There are risks, but we hope to make it through. And here is why we believe the future will be better. So yeah, that was really the sort of biggest turning point, and there have been many others. Not as large as sort of that, barring quitting the job and starting off with Srijan, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, you have mentioned a very good point here, Srijan, that you don't have to keep calm for yourself, but you have to like keep it normal for everybody around in the organization as well. And I think that's a bigger job as a founder or as a CEO you have to look after.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the company culture, Rahul. According to you, what are the three tips you would like to give to any founder or any leader of an organization to maintain strong company culture? Because that is also significant contributor to the success of the organization.
So I've actually talked about this at many agile conferences. I'll try and answer this in two parts. One is my recorded talk on ingredients for success at life and work, which is up on YouTube. I think that was at the Agile Gurugram 2 years back. Um, the other part is on this whole notion that you must be a visionary to be a successful company. Okay, they're still very small. Companies do very well. Companies who spent 19 years would have been thousands of people, perhaps sometimes. Um, so, I mean, I would say I have moderate success, if you like. I mean, I'm being a little conscious here, self-conscious here, and so, but there is fair amount of success, right? So, but I am no visionary by any imagination. If you ask me what is the vision and mission of Srijan, I don't know. Okay. All I know is that for a very long period of time, we've had very strong values that drive us forward. And if you've read the book Built to Last, the people over there, the authors, actually focus very, very heavily on core values. And honestly, in my mind, when I read that, their mission, vision, maybe there was. I think they do talk about that. But what stuck with me from that book was core values. And it's not that we wrote down some core values and put them up on a wall, and I go to many companies, or I don't travel so much anymore. But once when one traveled to many companies earlier, they would have a lot of mission vision on walls, Indian companies, American companies. Sometimes, or most of the times, I find that they are just sort of labels on the wall or nice things to say which hang on the wall. But are they really practiced? Are they really living things that people in that organization follow? I find that more than mission vision of businesses, it is values of how all the people within the organization are going to behave with each other. What are the values that we are going to demonstrate when we work with customers? What are the values we're going to demonstrate when we are working as a team? Okay, or as individuals, what are the values that I'm going to demonstrate as an individual in relationship with you or anybody I work with? I think those are honestly the most important things that drive a company forward. And we never wrote down our values until about 2011-12, when we actually had our first session, like 8-10 people gathered together in a 3-day workshop. And our coach that time, Darshan Bhatt, actually helped us whiteboard all these values. I remember one person who now is a director of consulting in the US. He mentioned something very stark, which sort of never goes. I never forget that. Um, and I actually, in a lot of gratitude for, sort of stating that statement, he actually said that we run our business like a hospitality business, a software company like a hospitality business. So the idea was, what he was articulating was that we bend backwards to serve our customer. We really go out of the way to serve them well, think about how their business is and all of that. But it was never about customer first or employee first. I've also fallen into this trap of whether we are customer first or employee first. It took me a few years of maturity and thinking, I now look at ourselves as a yin and yang, if you like. It's customers and employees. I keep reminding all my people at Srijan that customers pay our salaries. Please do remember that. My salary and everyone's salary at Srijan is paid by the customer. If we serve our customers well, we get paid. If we don't, we all go home or do something else. At the same time, is it customers first all the time? I don't think so, right? There are some customers who are not worth working for, honestly, right? You bend backwards, you try doing everything, you educate, but sometimes it's just not worth pursuing a customer, even if there's money on the table, right? Because if they're being very poor, if you like, if there's no value or respect on the table, then it's not worth working for a customer. You can't be a doormat, right? You can be of service, but not be subservient. So, and hence the balance between customer and people. So I guess it's both customers and employees, and you find a balance. Sometimes one is more, the other is less, and stuff like that. And so values drive us forward. I don't have 3 tips. I just have one tip. Just determine your values. Who you really are. What do you want to? How do you want to behave with others? How do you want to others to behave with you? Um, Even if you're a small business, large business, um, how do you expect everyone to work with each other? Those would be core values which will keep driving us forward. And other than that, it is goals basically. um, so culture is determined by the values. So I do want to put in a caveat, right? It's not that at Srijan everybody has the same excellent experience. No, no, people don't. People quit because they say that we're a pathetic company, and sometimes they do because the values either have not reached them, or something has gone wrong, which is sort of out of our control. But that does not mean that we don't demonstrate these values, right? Or don't strive to keep them. We really try. Um, and most of the time we succeed, sometimes we don't, and that's absolutely all right. So that's my take on tips for culture.
Thank you, Rahul, for sharing that. Now, moving on with my next question, I see you as the CEO of Srijan Technologies, and I wanted to understand what are the challenges you foresee for future CEOs, because I think now it's millennials and what we call them Gen Z What is your advice to them? I think they are going to be future CEOs. So anything you have for them?
Humility. Uh, far too many people give credit of their success to their own macho behavior, if you like, on how great they've been. There was I've actually talked about this in one of my earlier talks at the Agile Gurugram or some other places. There is a research by some Harvard professors on success of CEOs, and they actually place success of many CEOs to environmental conditions outside of their control, okay, which they all call serendipity. That they didn't go seeking these good things, but they happened to them. And I think most people in the world do not give credence to such events which happen. Just like I said, 2010-11, while I was making the transition, just about the same time, these two customers showed up who actually gave me the financial cushion to take those tough decisions. Without them, would I have been so strong to take the tough decisions? I don't know. I don't know. But they showed up at the right time. Did I go seeking that? No, I did not. It happened. Okay. And so these are serendipitous events. And I think if people give credence to such events, accept that they happen, they'll be better human beings and better CEOs or managing directors, founders, whatever they want to be, or even great managers, great leaders. And this happens with a little bit of humility, and this also happens because when you nurture relationships. So this is not dumb luck. Okay? There's a beautiful book called Heart Smarts, Guts and Luck, something. Yeah, something like that. That book very beautifully says this is not dumb luck. This is nurtured luck, which means you don't make your relationships transactional. Okay, everything is not a give and take. That I give you this, now you give me, what's there in return for me, and all of that. I have not conducted my life like that, my work life like that. None of this. Um, so yeah, I guess so. When you don't make your relationships transactional and are willing to give something valuable to people that they might be seeking, being at least available for that. And if that happens, slowly over time, there is something called karma bank, and so you build, uh, a way for life to give you back as well. So
Thank you, Rahul. That was amazing, amazing discussion to have with you. Thank you for sharing your journey with us. And as I can see, there were some amazing experiences that you had, and how you build the culture in your organization, what kind of values you believe in. Thank you so much for sharing those, and I'm sure the people who are listening to this are going to be greatly benefited. And I totally had fun discussion having this discussion with you.
okay, thank you. Yeah, hope you and your listeners enjoy it as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Rahul.